Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. We've got 10 more infinite or instant win combos. If you haven't seen the first video, go ahead and check that out. Those went over actually 11 infinite or instant win combos with Tarkir Dragonstorm. We got 10 more today, so let's jump right into it. The first one uses the Rot-Cursed Rakshasa, which deals 20 damage. And this card is pretty powerful, I think, and can actually deal 20 damage on turn 3 in standard if you have these three cards. You have to have a Leyline of Resonance in your opening hand. And the Rakshasa is a 2-mana 5/5 with Trample and Decayed. Also has a Renew ability, but you're not really using that for this combo. But it's basically a 2-mana 5/5 with Trample, which is pretty nice. And it does die at the end of combat because of Decayed, but we're only attacking once with this. So if you have a Leyline of Resonance, that lets you copy any spell that targets a creature that you have. And then if you have Bulk Up, which says 2 mana to double target creature's power until end turn, you go Leyline on turn 0, turn 2 play the Rot-Cursed Rakshasa, and then turn 3 attack, and then Bulk Up twice, basically. You cast it once, you create a copy of it, it'll double to 10 power, and then double to 20 power, and then you do 20 damage. And I feel like this has got some constructive potential, and your opponent probably isn't going to block this card because they may lose their creature and it still tramples over, so they may not see this coming, and you can do this kind of instant speed and just do 20 damage out of nowhere. So I don't know. This could have some constructive potential. Leyline is banned in best of one, thank goodness, so probably won't be losing to this. But you could also just do this like with 2 bulk ups or anything that gives double strike in a bulk up. But yeah, overall, I think this card is pretty strong for aggressive decks in general, but also has some pretty cool kind of combo potential as well. Okay, the next one is Call of the Spirit Dragons, which is 5 mana, one of each color for an enchantment. It says dragons you control have indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, for each color, put a +1/+1 counter on a dragon you control of that color. And if you would put a +1/+1 counter on 5 dragons this way, you win the game. So, how do we get that win the game thing to go off in standard? Well, there's 2 ley lines that help, actually. Leyline of Transformation and Leyline of the Guild Pack. Leyline of Transformation lets you choose dragon with it, and all your creatures then become dragons. So that's kind of meeting the first criteria here. And then Leyline will make both fix all your mana here, which is useful to casting the call, but also makes all your permanents every color. So that also fulfills the dragons of each color. So then all you need is 5 additional creatures in play. Season of the Burrow is kind of nice just as a 1 card that puts 5 rabbits into play. But you could use any sort of tokens or just play 5 creatures and have those out, and then you trigger and win the game. This is kind of like the least amount of cards I could think of that would just trigger that ability. But I'm sure there's other cards. I mean, you could just play this with a bunch of dragons in your deck and just try to win that way, and that sounds fun for sure. But yeah, let me know if there's any other ideas for this one too, for how to win the game with it. But this is kind of the least amount of cards I could think of just to trigger that ability. All right, next up, this one is a Pioneer combo that uses the Flamehold Grappler, which is a 3-mana 3/3 first strike, and it says when it enters, copy the next spell you cast this turn when you cast it, and you can choose new targets for the copy. So this works kind of weirdly with Neoform. So I might have to explain this. Neoform is you can sacrifice a creature and then you search the library for a creature card with a converted mana cost equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost, and it comes with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So if you play the Grappler and then you play Neoform, it's going to create a copy of that Neoform. Now Neoform is kind of locked in to search for 4 mana creatures in your deck, right? So you have a copy of Neoform and the original Neoform on the stack now. If you search up the Naru Miha here, the Master Wizard, which is a 4-mana 3/3, it says when it enters, you copy target instant or sorcery spell you control, choose new targets, other wizards get +1/+1. If you choose that, now with the first, there's already the original copy of Neoform on the stack that's going to choose a 4 casting cost creature, right? So then the Master Wizard comes into play, targets the Neoform that's on the stack, creates another copy of that one, and that one can get then Spark Double, which can come into play as a copy of the Master Wizard here, and then get that ability again, target the Neoform on the stack again, get another Spark Double, another Spark Double, another Spark Double. That works because Spark Double makes it so the legend rule really doesn't apply to the creature, essentially. If you wanted to play more than just 4 Spark Doubles, you could play other 4 mana clones in your deck, which would give you an even bigger board. But I haven't done the math on this. If you have like 5 of them in play, they're all pumping each other. So that probably is enough for a lethal attack. And then what you do is the final Neoform that resolves is you just get something that gives it all haste, like the Sure Shot, the Cactus Oak Sure Shot. Hard to say that one. That will give all your creatures haste, and then you can attack for the win. Haste and trample. So, yeah, you can kind of build your deck. You have to build your deck around this. So the cards have to kind of be in your deck to search out for this combo to work. And there's also 4 colors and 5 mana and a 2-card combo. I mean, it's not bad. A 2-card combo that kind of instantly wins you the game is usually pretty good. Um, but there's some downsides, obviously, to this combo because you do need to build your deck around it. Have the 4 Spark Doubles and Master Wizards, which aren't great cards just to have in your deck in general. So, I don't know if this really has too much competitive potential, but it's just interesting to think about. It might be worth kind of trying to brew a janky build around it, but uh, yeah, we'll see. It definitely is powerful when you get it off. Okay, so we got some more Sibsig ceremony combos, everyone's favorite. This one actually, I think, could also be potentially good in Pioneer. I believe Liliana Untouched by Death is legal in Pioneer. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Sibsig Ceremony, in the first video, I talked about a few combos with this, and I got a few more because this card is just so combolific. Um, it says creature spells cost 2 less to cast, and whenever a creature you control enters, if you cast it, destroy the creature, then you create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. And then Liliana, Untouched by Death, is 4 mana with a -3 and says you can cast zombie cards from your graveyard. Now, if you have a zombie card that is a creature that costs 2 mana, the Sibsig Ceremony basically makes it you can cast it for free, right? So you can see how this works. If you have the Sibsig Ceremony and then you play Liliana, you -3 it to have that ability, and then you just play a Razor Lash Trans Morgrant. There's a few other uh, 2 casting costs zombies, anything, or even like changelings. There's the 3-tree mascot, I believe, would work with this as well. But basically, you just can play it for free. It dies, you make a token. Then you can play it for free. It dies, you make a token, and you just kind of go infinite from there. Basically, it is a 3-card combo and not bad to make infinite tokens. And the cards are okay on their own too. So maybe this has some constructed potential. Um, we'll see. Just kind of something interesting to think about. I don't play again a ton of Pioneer, although I do have some interesting brews for it now. So maybe I'll try this out on the channel. Um, we'll see. Let me know what you think about this combo. Is it competitive enough or not? But it is something just to think about there because there is other zombies too that you can make this a bit more redundant as well. Okay. The other one we have here is with Enduring Renewal. Enduring Renewal is 4 mana that says whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from play, return it to your hand. So you can kind of see where this is going. And this just requires any sort of creature that has a mana cost of 2 or 1 or 0. I mean, you could play this with Ornithopter as well. Um, Basically, the Sibsig Ceremony reduces, say, for example, Haywire Might was something I was thinking of because that also kind of sees play in Modern on its own as just like a removal spell, but you can kind of use this to loop over and over again. Cast it for 0, it dies, make a token, returns to your hand, cast it for 0, dies, make a token. And you actually gain 2 life with this, so that's kind of nice. So you don't like get burned out or something. But yeah, this is another kind of 3-card infinite combo here. And there are obviously other creatures that you could use this combo with as well. Okay, so that's all the Sibsig ceremony combos I promise that I can think of. Again, go watch the first video if you want to see a few more of them as well. Okay, I featured this card also in the first video as well, and there are quite a few combos with the Kheru Goldkeeper here, which is 4 mana for a 3/3 dragon. it says whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard during your turn, you create a treasure token. With any sort of discard outlet, for example, Psychic Frog and the Oval Chase Daredevil, this goes infinite and actually creates infinite treasure tokens. So what happens if you have Psychic Frog or really any discard outlet that costs 0 mana to discard something? You discard the Oval Chase Daredevil that is in your graveyard. Excuse me. Um, and then it's as long as something comes into play that you need, I guess you need an additional artifact or way to trigger the Goldkeeper for this to kind of go off. But if you play an artifact, then the Oval Chase Daredevil says whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, you may return it from your graveyard to your hand. So that will return it back to your hand. That will trigger the Goldkeeper to make a treasure. And then in response to that ability, you can put it back into the graveyard, and then the treasure will trigger it and return it back. And then you can just discard it again, and then kind of keep going over and over again. So you basically get infinite treasure tokens, which gives you infinite mana here. Is this good? I don't know. I mean, 4 mana for the Goldkeeper is kind of expensive for like modern. Not sure how good that actually is, but the Daredevil and the Psychic Frog do see some play in modern, so maybe that could work. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Okay, and one more with the Goldkeeper here. This is a standard one. This is the cheapest kind of standard infinite combo I could think of with the Goldkeeper. Let me know again if there's any other standard combos, because that's mostly what I play on this channel. But we've got Bart, we've got the Vengeful Blood Witch, and we've got Forsaken Miner. So Forsaken Miner says it can return from your graveyard by paying 1 if you've committed a crime. And Vengeful Blood Witch says whenever another creature you control dies, you target your opponent to lose a life, and then Bart lets you sacrifice the creature for free. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? If you have all of these in play, you can sacrifice the miner to target your opponent. That's committing a crime. And then you need to pay the mana. You can use that mana from the treasure tokens that you get from the Goldkeeper and just kind of keep looping this over and over and over and over again. The cards are decent on their own as well, so maybe this kind of works. It is sort of 4 colors, so maybe not the most competitive deck, but something to kind of think about. And none of these cards are rare as well, so it could be like a budget brew as well. But yeah, that's kind of the standard combo that I could think about that's infinite, that does infinite damage to your opponent. But yeah, let me know in the comments below any other ideas with the Goldkeeper. Okay, next up we've got the Mardu Siegebreaker. This card has some interesting infinite potential. In a few ways, but one simple way is with the Madame the Ageless, which I believe is Pioneer legal. If you so, let me read the card. Kind of a complicated card. 4 mana for a Death Touch haste. When it enters, you exile up to 1 other target creature you control until it leaves the battlefield, and then when it attacks, for each opponent, create a tap token that's a copy of the exiled card attacking that opponent. At the beginning of your end step, you sacrifice the tokens. So if you have the Madame of the Ages, which says when it deals combat damage to a player, take an extra turn after this one, and it can't attack during extra turns. You play the Siegebreaker. You you exile the Madame, the Ageless, and then you attack. It creates a token copy of it, right? And if it does damage to your opponent, you get another turn. The token dies, so then when you attack again, then the following turn, you get another sort of token of this to attack with and get another turn. So it doesn't really matter that last line of text on the Madame because you're getting a new version of it that's a token. So you can basically take infinite turns and get infinite combat steps and hopefully kill your opponent pretty quickly with this. It is 4 colors and a bit expensive, but kind of a 2-card combo that could win the game instantly is something to think about. Okay, next up we've got the Infinite Life and Mill. This is with Warden of the Grove, which is a new 3 mana 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And it says whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X, where X is the number of counters on the creature. So this works infinitely with persist creatures, any persist creature. I was thinking of Kitchen Finks because it's kind of on color here. And persist is when it dies, it comes back with a -1/-1 counter on it. However, with the Warden of the Grove, if it had any counters on it, you would be able to endure, and endure would be able to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and that would negate the -1/-1 counter. And so if you have anything that sacrifices the kitchen things for free, for example, the Altar of Dementia, you could gain infinite life and mill your opponent infinitely and just kind of win the game there. So not a bad kind of 3-card combo. I think this would only be legal in modern, although there is a persistent creature, now that I think about it, in historic, I believe, that you could play on arena, so you could kind of do that combo as well. But yeah, definitely an infinite combo with persist, which there are many already, but this is just another option, and this card is kind of decent on its own, so something to think about. All right, and last up we've got this is a pretty janky one, I will admit, and pretty unlikely to actually happen, but something to think about with the Betor of all 5 mana for a 5/7 flying dragon at the beginning of your end step. If creatures you control have toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then if creatures you control have toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then if creatures you control have toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life rounded up. So, interesting effects, and not a bad card on its own. I would say if you're playing a toughness matters kind of shell, to be able to draw an extra card every turn could be decent and could help you find these are the pieces. It does go. It's an instant kill with Bloodletter, the Aquazods, the final ability, the toughness 40 or greater. Each opponent loses half their life. And Aquazods says if an opponent would lose life during their turn, they lose twice that much life. So anything with that card that says they lose half their life and then that doubles it, it's just an instant kill. You do need to have 40 toughness on the battlefield for this to work. Um, I was thinking like Pride of the Hull Clade could help. There are some cards too that like double all the toughness of your creatures, things like that. So you could find ways to get to that 40 toughness. I'm sure if you played built your deck around it, but just kind of something to consider as sort of like you don't even need to attack and kind of instantly win the game. And the cards are kind of like I would say decent on their own. Maybe not the pride, but well, it's okay if you're playing a toughness matters deck, then it's good. But yeah, this is definitely an interesting kind of combo. Maybe there's an easier way to get it off. I'm not really sure, but let me know in the comments below. That's kind of the jank combo for sure in standard that you could try. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the series. You can go check out the first video if you haven't seen it already. Those were 11 instant win combos. I added a bonus one to that one. And yeah, let me know any comments, combos, or in the comments below if you've been enjoying these videos, any cool brews that you have with Tarkir Dragonstorm. What are you thinking about for the set? Hope you enjoyed the videos, and I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.